The van's tires screeched like a banshee's wail as it slammed into the side of my rented Jeep on the cracked asphalt of Highway 60, east of Albuquerque. Dust choked the air, and before I could even unclip my seatbelt, rough hands yanked me out, a burlap sack slamming over my head, the world dissolving into muffled curses and the metallic tang of fear. "You're done sticking your nose where it don't belong, faggot reporter." A gravelly voice snarled, the words slicing deeper than the zip tie biting into my wrists. Samuel Hayes, out and proud journalist from New York, reduced to a trussed-up piñata in the heart of red state nowhere. I thrashed against the ropes binding me to the chair in that godforsaken shack, the kind of place where tumbleweeds went to die, my screams echoing off walls that smelled of mildew and old regret. The door exploded inward with a shotgun blast that lit the room like fireworks on the 4th, shards of wood raining down as a silhouette, broad-shouldered, Stetson Lowe stormed in, his revolver barking twice, dropping my captors like sacks of feed. "Get up, city boy," he growled, his voice a low rumble of mesquite smoke and unspoken storms, cutting my bonds with a knife that gleamed wicked in the lantern light. In that heartbeat, as his calloused fingers brushed my skin, I knew salvation had a price, and his eyes, dark as the Chihuahuan night, held secrets that could unravel us both. New Mexico's high desert stretched out like a faded postcard, all ochre reds and sagebrush greens under a sky so vast it swallowed secrets whole. I'd come here chasing a story that had been gnawing at me for months. The underground network of anti-LGBTQ militias sprouting up in the rural Southwest, fueled by whispers of federal overreach and biblical fire. As a features writer for The Atlantic, I'd built my career on pieces that peeled back America's underbelly, the Pulse nightclub survivors still haunted by disco lights, the trans kids fighting bathroom bills in Texas courthouses. But this was personal. I'd grown up in a Brooklyn brownstone where my dad's pride flags flew high, their marriage a middle finger to the Bible Belt preachers who called it sin. Now, at 32, with a string of bad hookups and a byline that made me a target, I was knee-deep in militia manifestos, interviewing ranchers who spat tobacco and scripture in equal measure. The assignment started innocently enough. A tip from a source in Santa Fe about the Guardians of the Rio Grande, a loose coalition of ex-military types patrolling the borderlands, railing against coastal elites shoving their rainbow agenda down real Americans' throats. I'd rented the Jeep in Albuquerque, loaded it with notebooks, a GoPro, and enough protein bars to survive a siege. My plan was simple: embed with a sympathetic local, document a rally near truth or consequences, expose the hate bubbling under the surface like geothermal springs. But on that stretch of highway, flanked by the San Andres Mountains' jagged teeth, simplicity shattered. They'd been tailing me since I gassed up in Socorro, the van's engine a low growl in my rearview. I chalked it up to paranoia at first. After all, I'd gotten death threats before, emails from handles like True Patriot 1776, promising to purge the sodomites. But when the Jeep flipped, the world inverted, dashboard lights blurring into stars, my laptop skittering across the sand like a wounded animal. The sack over my head reeked of onions and gun oil. Hands 3, maybe 4 pairs, dragged me into the van, zip ties cinching my ankles, a knee grinding into my back as someone rifled my pockets for my phone. Got his recorder, one chuckled, a Midwestern twang that didn't belong in the desert. Little Fairy thought he could play cowboy. They drove for what felt like hours, the van bouncing over rutted tracks that rattled my teeth. My mind raced. Who were they? Guardians? Cartel muscle pissed at my old border pieces? or just rednecks who'd clocked my rainbow keychain dangling from the ignition. I shouted questions into the void. This is kidnapping, you assholes. First Amendment. But laughter was my only reply, laced with slurs that burned hotter than the hood's stifling dark. The shack materialized like a bad dream. Creosote poles sagging under corrugated tin, a single bulb swinging from a frayed cord. They stripped the sack, and I blinked against the glare. 3 men, faces obscured by ski masks, tactical vests bulging with ammo pouches. The leader, stocky with a Fu Manchu mustache peeking from his mask, leaned in close, breath like stale cores. Samuel Hayes. We know all about you. Writing your fag propaganda, stirring up the queers against God's order. Time you learned what happens to messengers. They tied me to a splintered wooden chair, the ropes chafing my wrists raw. Interrogation followed. Demands for my sources, my notes, threats to send you back to New York in pieces for your daddies to bury. I spat defiance, reciting Miranda rights they ignored, my bladder screaming but pride holding firm. Hours blurred. Water dripped from a leaky roof, marking time like a slow execution. I thought of my last lover, Jake, the barista who'd ghosted me after I pushed for more than late-night grinder romps. Thought of my dads, probably sipping chamomile in their Park Slope kitchen, oblivious. Thought of the story. If I died here, would it even matter? Then, the shotgun blast. Chaos erupted, shouts, gunfire cracking like thunder in a tin can. The door splintered, and in charged him, Anthony Ruiz, though I didn't know his name yet. 6'2" of coiled muscle under a faded denim shirt, jeans tucked into scuffed Lucchese boots, his Stetson casting shadows over a face carved from canyon stone, high cheekbones, a jaw shadowed with stubble, eyes like polished obsidian. He moved like he'd been born with a gun in hand, dropping the Fu Manchu with a headshot that painted the wall crimson, the other 2 crumpling under precise bursts from his .357. Move, he barked, sawing at my ropes with a Bowie knife, its edge whispering against hemp. His touch was electric, fingers steady but warm, grazing my forearm in a way that sent a forbidden shiver down my spine. Close, he smelled of leather, sweat, and something wilder, like creosote after rain. I staggered to my feet, legs numb, as he shoved a spare pistol into my hand. Can you shoot? Point and pull, I gasped, adrenaline surging. Outside, the night air hit like a bomb, stars wheeling overhead in indifferent millions. Anthony's truck, a battered Ford F-150, mud-splattered and mean, idled in the scrub, headlights cutting the dark. We peeled out as sirens wailed distant, his tires chewing gravel like a beast unchained. I slumped against the passenger door, heart hammering, watching his profile, the way his throat worked as he swallowed, the faint scar tracing his jawline like a lover's bite. Who the hell are you? I finally croaked, voice raw from screams. He glanced over, lips corking in a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. Name's Anthony. Rancher from up near the Gila. Heard you were poking around. Figured you'd need pulling out of the fire. His accent was pure Southwest, drawling vowels, consonants clipped like barbed wire. Rancher with a arsenal? And how'd you find me? Desert talks if you listen. And I listen good. He lit a cigarette one-handed, the flame illuminating a tattoo on his forearm. A coiled rattlesnake, fangs bared. Something in his tone, guarded, laced with gravel, set my reporter's instincts buzzing. Savior? Or something more tangled? We drove in silence toward his spread, the radio crackling with static and twangy country about lost loves and dusty roads. My body ached, bruises blooming like ink under skin, but beneath the pain thrummed a current I hadn't felt in years, gratitude laced with desire. Anthony Ruiz wasn't just a rescuer. He was a storm in human form, and as the first pink fingers of dawn clawed the horizon, I wondered if I'd traded one cage for another, one where the bars were forged from secrets and stolen glances. By the time we rattled up his dirt driveway, the sun was a blood-orange smear over the mesa, painting his ranch house in hues of terracotta and gold. It was the real deal. Adobe walls weathered to a soft patina, a wraparound porch sagging under the weight of old saddles and rusted farm tools, cottonwoods whispering in the breeze like gossiping ghosts. A weathered sign by the gate read Ruiz Land and Cattle, deer stylized like a cattle brand. Chickens scattered as we parked, and a border collie, matted fur, one ear flopped, barreled toward us, tail wagging fury. "Easy, Luna," Anthony murmured, scratching behind her ears as he killed the engine. He looked at me then, really looked, his gaze tracing the dirt-streaked lines of my face, the tear in my button-down where the ropes had bitten. "You need a doc? Shower? Whiskey? All three," I admitted, swinging my legs out, wincing as pins and needles fired up my calves. Inside, the house was a time capsule of frontier grit, scarred pine floors, a stone fireplace big enough to roast a steer, shelves crammed with dog-eared Louis L'Amour paperbacks and jars of peach preserves. No photos, though, no family portraits, no kids' drawings pinned to the fridge. Just a lone snapshot on the mantel. Anthony, younger, arms slung around a broad-shouldered man with the same obsidian eyes, both grinning in fatigues against a desert backdrop. Brothers? Lovers? The ambiguity twisted something in my gut. He poured us shots of Herradura from a bottle on the sideboard, the amber liquid burning smooth down my throat. "To not dying today," he toasted, clinking glasses. His fingers brushed mine again. Accidental? The air thickened, charged like the moment before a monsoon breaks. I set the glass down, pulse quickening. "Anthony, level with me. You didn't just hear about my mess. You knew where that shack was." "How?" He leaned against the counter, crossing arms that strained his shirt sleeves, the snake tattoo flexing. "I got eyes out here. Folks talk. The guardians, they're poison, spreading like loco weed. Thought you were in over your head. Thought? Or knew?" Pressed, the journalist in me surfacing despite the exhaustion. His deflection was too smooth, his rescue too timed. But God, those eyes, framed by lashes thick as a poet's lies, held me captive in a way the ropes never could. A beat, then he sighed, rubbing his neck. "All right, Hayes. I used to run with rough crowds. Border security gigs, private contracts. Knew their patterns. That's all. It wasn't all, but the weariness in his voice brooked no argument. He showed me to a guest room, spare, with a quilt that smelled of lavender and a window overlooking the arroyo. "Clean up. I'll rustle grub. Then we talk real." The shower was heaven. Scalding water sluicing away grit, steam fogging the mirror where I confronted my reflection. Pale skin mottled with bruises, green eyes shadowed but alive. Alive because of him. Toweling off, I caught my breath at the memory of his touch, the way his body heat had radiated in the truck cab. Desire, sharp and unbidden, coiled low. It had been months since Jake, since anyone who'd seen past the byline to the man gasping for connection. Anthony Ruiz was danger wrapped in denim, but in this vast, unforgiving land, danger felt like the only honest thing left. Dinner was simple: chili verde from a family recipe he wouldn't share, cornbread steaming in a cast-iron skillet. We ate on the porch as dusk bled purple across the sky, coyotes yipping in the distance like lost souls. Conversation flowed easy at first, my New York snark clashing with his dry wit, stories of urban subways versus cattle drives. He laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that vibrated through me, when I admitted mistaking a javelina for a wild pig from a zoo escape. "You're a fish out of water, Samuel," he said, using my first name like a caress. "But you swim good." Moonlight silvered his features, softening the hard lines, and I leaned in, emboldened by the tequila's glow. "And you? What's a rancher doing playing hero to strangers?" His smile faded, fingers drumming the beer bottle. "Not always a hero. Lost my way once. Or, mostly. Came back. Different." The pause hung heavy, laced with ghosts. Iraq, Afghanistan, the tattoo screamed special forces, but the evasion screamed deeper wounds. Our knees brushed under the table, neither pulling away. Heat bloomed, electric, and when his hand covered mine, rough palm against smooth, I didn't flinch. "Anthony," I whispered, heart thundering. "Samuel." His voice was husky, eyes darkening with intent. He stood, pulling me up, and the kiss crashed over us like a desert flash flood. Fierce, devouring, his stubble scraping my jaw as tongues tangled in a dance of pent-up storm. His hands roamed my back, mapping scars I hadn't shared, and I melted into him, the world narrowing to the taste of salt and spice, the press of his arousal against mine. We stumbled inside, shedding clothes like sins, the bedroom door banging shut behind us. He was all sinew and heat, body honed by labor and longing, whispering my name like a prayer as we explored each other with the urgency of the condemned. His touch was reverent yet raw, fingers tracing my hips, lips branding my collarbone, unearthing moans I didn't know I harbored. In the afterglow, tangled in sheets damp with sweat, I traced that snake tattoo, asking, "What does it mean?" He stiffened, then softened, pulling me close. Warning. To myself, mostly. Don't trust easy. Asleep claimed me, his arm heavy across my waist. I wondered if I already did. Trust him, that is. And if his secrets would be the flood that drowned us both. Dawn cracked the sky like an eggshell, spilling yolk gold over the ranch, and I woke to the scent of coffee brewing and the low murmur of Anthony on the phone in the kitchen. His side of the bed was cool, the quilt rumpled where his body had pressed mine through the night, dreams haunted by gunfire and gasps, his name on my lips like a talisman. Stretching, muscles protesting the previous day's brutality, I padded out in boxers and a borrowed flannel, the floorboards creaking underfoot like old bones. He was at the stove, flipping eggs with one hand, phone tucked under his chin, his voice a low rumble. Yeah, got him. Shook up, but breathing. Tell the sheriff it was guardians. Masks off, one of 'em showed the ink. A pause, then a chuckle that didn't reach his eyes. No, I handled it. Clean. He hung up, turning to me with a grin that masked the tension in his jaw. "Morning, cowboy. Sleep okay?" "Like the dead," I replied, sliding onto a stool at the butcher block island, accepting the mug he slid over, black, steaming, no frills. Our eyes met over the rim, a spark jumping like static on wool, memories of midnight confessions and dawn's first light flaring between us. Last night hadn't been pity or adrenaline-fueled folly. It was something seismic, a fault line cracking open in the parched earth of my solitude. We ate in companionable quiet, forks scraping plates, the only sounds the cluck of hens outside and the distant low of cattle. But my mind churned, piecing together the puzzle of Anthony Ruiz. The phone call, casual, but coded. The rescue, flawless, almost rehearsed. And that tattoo, the photo on the mantel, the other man in fatigues, his arm around Anthony's shoulders in a grip too intimate for brothers. I cleared my throat, setting down my fork. Who was that on the phone? Backup cavalry? Local contact. Ex-cop turned ranch hand. Keeps an ear to the ground. He avoided my gaze, focusing on scraping the last of the eggs onto a plate for Luna, who sat at his feet with hopeful eyes. "Anthony, come on. You saved my ass literally, and now we're..." "This." I gestured between us, heat rising at the memory of his mouth on my thigh. "I need to know who I'm sleeping with. Not just the rancher fantasy," he sighed, leaning back against the sink, arms crossed like a barrier. The morning light caught the silver threads in his black hair, the faint lines etching his forehead. 38. He'd murmured last night, old enough for regrets. Fair enough. Served with the Marines, Force Recon. 2 tours in Helmand, watching brothers bleed out for sand and slogans. Came home in '09, PTSD riding shotgun. Drifted into private security, contract work on the border, escorting shipments, keeping eyes on the cartels. Shipments, the word hung, sharp as a spur. Legit ones. Mostly. Humanitarian aid runs, NGOs dodging the narcos. His eyes flicked to mine, defiant. But yeah, lines blurred. Took jobs I shouldn't have. Money was good, and the ranch was bleeding cash after Dad passed. The pieces slotted, the precision of the rescue, the knowledge of militia haunts. Anthony wasn't just a bystander. He was a ghost of America's shadow wars, exported home to haunt the Rio Grande. Sympathy warred with suspicion in my chest. And the Guardians? You said you knew their patterns. A muscle ticked in his jaw. Ran afoul of M once. They don't like outsiders, especially ones who don't fit their white picket Jesus mold. I'm not their poster boy. Not their poster boy, I echoed, realization dawning like a slow sunrise. Anthony Ruiz. Latino heritage etched in his features, the faint accent from his abuela's El Paso stories he'd shared in the dark. In this corner of New Mexico, where Trump flags still fluttered like battle standards, being brown and queer, that was a double-barreled target. He nodded, slow. Came out after the service. Rough. Folks here. They tolerate, but it's thin ice. Lost friends. The guy in the photo, Marco. My first real love. We served together. He didn't make it back. The confession landed like a gut punch, raw and reverberating. I reached across the island, squeezing his hand, feeling the calluses that mapped a life of hard choices. I'm sorry. That, that's why the secret's part of it. He turned his palm up, lacing our fingers, thumb stroking my knuckle in a rhythm that soothed and stirred. You? What's a New York hotshot doing chasing hate in the sticks? Ain't exactly Park Slope. I laughed, bitter. Chasing truth, I guess. Or absolution. My dad's activists died in a car wreck 3 years back. Left me this fire to fight the good fight. But stories like this, they hit close. I'm gay in a world that still wants to stone us. Anthony. Every byline's a brick in the wall. Our gazes locked. Vulnerability bridging the miles between Brooklyn spires and desert expanses. He pulled me around the island then, into his arms, the kiss starting soft, lips brushing like sage against stone, then deepening, hungry, his hands fisting my flannel as if anchoring against a gale. We made love right there on the kitchen floor, sunlight streaming through the window, bodies moving in a symphony of gasps and groans, sweat-slick skin sliding under the cool tile. He was tender this time, mapping my freckles with kisses, whispering beautiful in Spanish that rolled off his tongue like honeyed sin. Afterward, curled against his chest, his heartbeat a steady drum under my ear, I felt the stirrings of something dangerous, not just lust, but the ache of possibility. But the idol shattered by noon. My phone, miraculously recovered from the Jeep wreck, charger borrowed from Anthony's truck, buzzed with voicemails from my editor. Sam, where the fuck are you? Cops called. Kidnapping report, followed by texts from unknown numbers. Threats, slurs, a grainy photo of me at last night's rally, circled in red. We know where you hide. Fairy. Anthony saw my face drain, grabbing the phone. Guardians leaking your trail. You gotta lay low. Lay low? This is the story of my career. Militias targeting journalists. And getting you killed. His voice cracked, fear bleeding through the gruff. Stay here. I'll ride fence. Check contacts. Promise me, Samuel. I nodded, hating the capitulation, but his plea raw, laced with the terror of loss, tethered me. As he saddled up, kissing me fierce at the door, I watched him ride out, a lone figure against the shimmering heat haze, and wondered how deep his contacts ran. The ranch felt too still without him, shadows lengthening as afternoon wore on, my notebook filling with frantic scribbles. Questions about Marco, the border jobs, the snake's warning. Dusk brought him back, horse-lathered, face grim under the brim. Sheriffs hauling in 2 guardians, small fry. But the leader, ghosted. And your Jeep's totaled. They'll trace it here soon. Then we go public, I said, pacing the porch. My piece exposed the network. Your intel could. No, he grabbed my arm. Grip iron. My name stays out. You print that, it circles back. To me. To us. The word hung, a fragile bridge over chasms. Anthony, secrets rot everything. You saved me. Let me save the story. His laugh was hollow. Save it? Boy, you don't know the half. He stormed inside, leaving me in the cooling air, crickets chirping a dirge. Dinner was tense. Tacos slapped together, words sparse. Pushed, he parried, until frustration boiled over in the bedroom. Tell me about the shipments, I demanded, stripping off my shirt, vulnerability my weapon. The ones that weren't mostly legit. He froze, shirt half unbuttoned, chest rising sharp. Drop it, Samuel. No. We're in this bed. Heart, whatever. No walls. Thunder rolled distant. Monsoon brewing. He closed the distance, backing me against the dresser, hands bracketing my hips. You want truth? Fine. One run. 2 years back, gear for a militia op. Not guardians, rivals. Thought it was anti-cartel. Wasn't. Blood on my hands. Indirect. Paid off the ranch, but sleeps like lead in my gut. The admission cracked him open, pain etching deep. I cupped his face, thumbs brushing tears he wouldn't shed. Human. Flawed. That's America, Anthony, the mess we make. Our kiss was salt-tanged, desperate, bodies colliding in a tempest of forgiveness and fire. He took me slow, reverent, each thrust a confession, my cries echoing off adobe as lightning forked the sky. Rain hammered the roof like applause, washing clean the grime of half-truths. But as we lay spent, thunder rumbling retreat, his phone lit the dark. A text, unread by him, but glimpsed by me. Ruiz job's on. Same drop. Bring the ghost. Sender. A number tied to the Guardian's manifestos I'd memorized. My blood iced. Savior or serpent? The rain tapered to a drizzle by midnight, drumming a staccato on the tin roof like impatient fingers, mirroring the unrest churning in my gut. Anthony slept beside me, chest rising steady, one arm flung possessively over my waist, his breath warm against my shoulder. But I stared at the ceiling beams, splintered and shadowed, replaying that text. Bring the ghost. What ghost? A weapon? A contact? Or me, the nosy reporter he'd pulled from the fire, only to dangle as bait? Trust, fragile as desert bloom, withered under suspicion's glare. I slipped from bed, careful not to wake him, padding to the living room where my notebook lay open like an accusation. Scribbling by flashlight, pen scratching paper in frantic loops, I dissected the puzzle. Anthony's border runs, the Guardian's precision, his contacts that smelled of complicity. Was he playing both sides, a double agent in cowboy boots? Or deeper, a mole feeding intel to the very wolves who'd caged me? The photo on the mantel mocked me, him and Marco, young and unbreakable, now one dust, the other fractured. Had loss twisted Anthony into this enigma? Or was the enigma the man who'd always lurked? Dawn found me on the porch, coffee gone cold, Luna nosing my hand for scraps of bacon I'd saved. Anthony emerged, tousle-haired, in nothing but low-slung jeans, the snake tattoo coiling vivid in the slanted light. Jesus, Sam, you look like hell. Bad dreams. Worse. Reality. I thrust the phone at him, screen glowing with the screenshot I'd snapped. His face drained, jaw clenching like a vice. Where'd you? Saw it last night. Explain. Now. He snatched the phone, scrolling, curse exploding low. Fuck. That's old burner number, from a job I walked. Swear it. Swear? Like you swore the shipments were clean. Venom laced my words. Betrayal's first bloom. We'd bared souls and skin, yet here I was, interrogating my lover like a source gone sour. He paced, boots thudding hollow on wood. All right, full deck. The ghost, it's code. For a smuggler, ex-unit, owed me after Hellmand. He runs docks, migrants mostly, but dips into arms when desperate. That text? Bait from a guardian plant, testing loyalty. I ghosted M months ago, after they torched a trans clinic in Las Cruces. Said I was done. Done enough to rescue me solo? Or did you know they'd grab me? Stage the hero act. His eyes flashed, hurt slicing deep. You think that? After everything, he closed in, hands fisting my shirt, pulling me flush. I took a bullet grazing the shoulder for you back there, Sam. Didn't tell you 'cause it'd worry. But doubt me? That cuts deeper than lead. The graze, yes. Blood seeping through his sleeve in the truck. Dismissed as a scratch. Guilt twisted, but suspicion clung like burrs. Prove it. Call the number. Confront. A beat, then nod. He dialed on speaker. Voice steel. This Ruiz. Text about the ghost bullshit. I'm out. Remember? Leak my name again. I leak yours to ICE. A pause. Then a tinny laugh. Ruiz, you spick traitor. Thought you learned after your fag buddy got shipped south. We're coming for the reporter. And you. Click. Anthony's face ashen, hand trembling as he pocketed the phone. Marco, he whispered. After he died, they outed him. Said he was queer. Got him dishonorably discharged posthumous. I confronted, nearly killed their sergeant. That's why the hate. Empathy surged, crashing over doubt's levee. I pulled him into a hug, his body rigid then yielding, sobs muffled against my neck, tears hot, rare as rain. I'm sorry. God, Anthony, we sank to the porch steps, holding each other as the sun climbed, Luna curling at our feet. His story spilled then, floodgates broken, Marco's laugh in foxholes, their stolen kisses in Kabul barracks, the IED that stole him. Homecoming to a ranch in debt, a town whispering queer widow, the border jobs, a devil's bargain for survival, blurring into moral quagmires that echoed war's gray. You're the first since him, he admitted, voice breaking. To see me. All of me, and I almost threw it away. I kissed his temple, tasting salt. Forgive, always, his smile, tentative, bloomed like yucca after storm. We made love in the hayloft that afternoon. Slow, exploratory, sunlight slanting through slats to gild our skin, his hands worshipful on my scars, my lips tracing the bullet's kiss on his shoulder. It was romantic, yes, poetic in its rust and reclamation, but laced with urgency, as if we could fuck the fractures away. Yet peace was fleeting. By evening, my editor's calls escalated. Sam, feds involved now, FBI sniffing militia ties. Get your ass to Albuquerque. And a package arrived via drone, creepy tech for rural hate, a manila envelope thudding onto the porch. Inside, printouts of my articles, redlined with slurs, and a photo of Anthony and me kissing on the porch, snapped from afar. Note pinned, sinners burn together. Guardians watch, panic ignited. They're here, I breathed, shoving the pick at him. We run. No, his jaw set, resolve hardening. We fight. My truck, geared for off-road. Head to the res, Taos Pueblo. Allies there, old Marine buds. Safe house. We loaded up under cover of twilight. My laptop, his go bag stuffed with ammo and MREs, a satellite phone for good measure. The drive north was tense, headlights carving tunnels through pinion-scented dark, radio scanning for chatter. Anthony's hand on my thigh grounded me, thumb circling soothing patterns, but his eyes scanned mirrors obsessively. Conversation turned confessional, miles melting miles. I shared my dad's legacy, protests at Stonewall reruns, the AIDS quilt square they'd sewn for a friend lost to Reagan's neglect. They taught me love's the ultimate rebellion. But me, I've hidden behind bylines, afraid to commit. You're committing now, he murmured, squeezing. With a broken-down vaquero like me? The hottest vaquero. Laughter bubbled, easing knots. We stopped at a scenic overlook near the Rio Grande Gorge. Bridge spanning a mile-deep scar in the earth, stars mirrored in the chasm below. There, against the truck's hood, we stole a moment, kisses deepening to caresses, clothes shed in the chill wind, his body covering mine under a blanket of night. It was raw, romantic, windsong and whispers, climax crashing like the river far below. I love you, I gasped, unbidden, the words escaping like breath on glass. He stilled, then smiled against my skin. Te amo, Sam. Always, but love's declaration soured at Taos. The safe house, a modest adobe on Pueblo land, guarded by a fence of prayer flags, welcomed us with Navajo fry bread and wary eyes. Anthony's buddy, Joe, a barrel-chested vet with a prosthetic leg, clasped his shoulder. Heard you stirred the nest, hermano. Feds en route, but Guardians beat M. Scouts spotted vans southbound. We bunkered down, windows shuttered, playing cards by lantern to kill time. Stories flowed. Joe's tours in Fallujah, Anthony's regrets revisited. But midnight brought the hammer, sirens wailing, not cop but militia, tires crunching gravel like bones. Gunfire erupted, shattering glass, bullets whining past as Joe barked orders. Basement! Now! Chaos reigned. Anthony shoving me downstairs, his .45 barking return fire, Joe's shotgun booming thunder. I fumbled the pistol he'd given me, heart slamming, acrid smoke stinging eyes. A grenade, flashbang, popped upstairs, disorienting screams echoing. Then, a lull, and voices. Ruiz, come out. Bick, we got your boy. Betrayal's blade twisted. How? The text. The photo someone close. Joe's face, shadowed, flickered suspicion. Anthony charged up, dragging me. Tunnel out back, go. No, together. A shot cracked. He grunted, blood blooming on his side. Go. Damn it. I love you. Live. Tears blurring. I bolted into the scrub. Gorge yawning black beside me. Gunfire chasing like hounds. Behind, a roar, Anthony's, defiant and then silence, broken by an explosion that lit the night orange. I ran till lungs burned, collapsing at a ranger station miles on, babbling to wide-eyed feds who swarmed. Dawn brought helicopters, raids, guardians scattered, leader cuffed in a blaze of headlines. But Anthony vanished. Body not among the dead. Joe swearing he'd seen him slip away in the melee. Weeks blurred. Hospital for my scrapes. Depositions in D.C. My piece exploding, the Atlantic cover. Shadows over the Southwest. Militias and the queer hunt. Acclaim, but hollow. Back in Brooklyn. Pride flags mocked from neighbors' windows. Jake's ghost texts ignored. I scoured news, X feeds, even hired a PI, nothing. Anthony Ruiz, ghost indeed. Then, 6 months on, a postcard arrived. Chihuahuan postmark, no return. Snake sketched crude, words in his scrawl. Burned the bridges, but not the love. Find me when safe. A. Humanity's thread. Not tidy redemption, but resilient spark. I booked a flight west, notebook packed, heart open to deserts and secrets untold. America's wounds heal slow, but in the scar tissue, stories and lovers endure. No, that wasn't the end. The postcard ignited a frenzy, my PI tracing whispers to a cantina in Juarez, border blurred like our fates. I crossed over, heat mirage shimmering, heart pounding as I pushed through bead curtains into dim coolness. Mariachi guitars strumming low, air thick with cilantro and smoke. There, at a corner table, Stetson low, Anthony, leaner, beard fuller, eyes lifting to mine with a mix of shock and sunburst smile. Sam, we collided across the table, his chair scraping back, arms wrapping me like homecoming. Thought you were, played dead. Feds needed a ghost to hunt. I gave him one, his laugh, rueful. Joe sold out guardian blood money. Took the hit to flush him. Betrayal's echo, but his eyes clear, unshadowed, spoke truth. And now, new life. Smuggling stories, not guns. Help migrants cross, docks and dreams. He traced my jaw, thumb lingering. You, writing the sequel. Us, the kiss was frontier epic, spicy with risk, sweet with survival. We fled to his safe house, a casita in the foothills, making love with the Rio Grande rushing below, bodies a testament to scars transmuted to strength. No militias, no secrets, just two men, queer and unbowed, forging love from America's forge. Yet controversy lingered. My follow-up piece, The Savior's Shadow, exposed the Guardian's rot, earning Pulitzers and death threats anew. Protests erupted, pride marches chanting Anthony's alias, conservatives decrying fake news fairy tales. We debated it nightly, his pragmatism clashing my fire, but always reconciling entangled sheets, whispers of Te Amo bridging divides. One storm-tossed eve, as thunder rolled like artillery, he proposed not ring, but a brand, matching snakes inked on our forearms, fangs linked. Partners, he said. In ink and ink, I said yes, tears mingling with rain on the window. Humanistic triumph, not erasure of pain, but alchemy, hate to hope, betrayal to bond. In New Mexico's vast heart, we built a ranch reborn as refuge, hosting queer vets, trans runaways, stories sown like seeds in fertile soil. Years on, with the adopted son from the border, little Mateo, eyes like Anthony's, we watch sunsets from the porch, his hand in mine, Luna's successor at our feet. America raged elections, edicts, but our corner stood steadfast, a gay love letter to resilience. And in quiet moments, I trace his tattoo, murmuring, changed everything. He'd grin, pulling me close. Damn right.